I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, July the 17th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight shooting tulathromycin injection with an affordable upfront price, end of story, and no BS. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, finally a light day for them. They just been having so many huge sales. Last week they had 13,000. Gonna have about 5,000 this week, and I don't think that the pots are going to be lined up like they were last week, but they had that big yearling special last week, and I tell you what, the market has brought the cattle to town, and they're bound to be getting short on cattle to sell. After selling so many cattle here over the last 6 weeks or so. But Joplin have a good market on those 5,000 that they're selling here today on Monday, and they'll be started early and they'll get done early. And if you're interested in viewing and bidding that sale, get on to dvauction.com. Negative basis. All of a sudden we look up and August live cattle, the spot live cattle futures, are higher than what the Southern Plains market is. Whatever that is. We don't know what the Southern Plains market is for sure. They never really got it established this last week. And you can't blame the cattle feeders for holding back and not letting them go when packers wouldn't even keep up with what the board is doing there. And so, you know, that's yet to be seen. I'm sure there was more trade than what we heard of late on Friday, and we'll find out about that, and I'll tell you guys all about it on our next visit. But we just didn't see it. We saw them sell some cattle early in the week at 178 in the south. We saw them puke some cattle at 175. We heard of some cattle in Texas that went north for 180, which is what I think most of your rest of your Southern Plains feedlots wanted, was 180. Well, why wouldn't they whenever the board closed on Friday over 180? But just never really got things going. Fed Cattle Exchange sold some cattle late there in the week from 178.5 to 179, and that was really the best for the Southern Plains market. But just getting back from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, went up for the Calgary Stampede and participated in the International Livestock Auctioneers Championship, which I guess I don't have any business getting in anymore, but it is so much fun. It's one of the funnest things that I get to do, and I haven't gotten to do it for quite a while because I would not get the jab, and I was not going to deal with that going up for the last 3 or 4 years, so I haven't been able to go, but was able to go this year, and it is so much fun. That contest is put on by an upstanding committee. The chairman of that committee is Rob Bergevin. If you guys know him, you know everything he does is first class, and he continues to support that, and that thing is just getting bigger and bigger all the time. And so many good friends that I've met over the years up north of the border, and so many good auctioneers that from the states that go up there. The grand prize of $10,000, 10 grand to the winner. My buddy Sisto Paez Morales from Portales. Congratulations to him, and he sure deserved it. It's an honest contest, and the cream rises to the top, guys. Eric Dries, another good friend of mine that comes from Idaho, he got the reserve championship buckle there, and a nice check for himself too. But it's just fun to see all the different competitors that it comes in there. No, I did not make the top 10. I was lucky to make the top 20. There was 34 auctioneers there, the biggest auctioneer contest or livestock auctioneer contest you'll see around anywhere. But you know, they had a contestant that came from Australia. It's definitely international. They had a contestant that came from South Africa. That was interesting. And I'm going to tell you a name that you probably are going to hear about at some point. The name is Lars DeLue. He's an 18-year-old kid from Ontario. He immigrated with his family from the Netherlands when he was young, and he is Matt Lowry reincarnated without all the baggage. But I tell you what, he sounds amazing, and really hasn't done it all that much. You know, was talking to him, and it's just unbelievable what comes out of his mouth whenever he starts selling. But got to be proud of him. He did make the top 10. They do the finals a little bit different. They feature a brand, and they have different ranches there that help sponsor that contest, and they'll feature that brand. The speaking kind of got him a little bit in that, but I guarantee you when the selling starts, it's unbelievable. But remember Lars DeLue, once he gets old enough to kind of get weaned there. But saw so many of my other good friends. Darcy Sheets is one of my favorite people in the world, and he and I made fast friends when I was in Canada several years ago. We've met up down in the States, and I always look forward to getting to spend some time with him, and I did, him and his girlfriend Charlene there, and we just had a great time with him. Had a good time at the rodeo, met some interesting characters there at the rodeo, but you know, as good a rodeo or better than you can see anywhere. As far as outdoor, I guess they call it the largest outdoor, or the biggest outdoor show in the world. It was a fantastic rodeo. Weather is fantastic. It's like 80 degrees. Cools way down in the evenings. My chuck wagon races are my favorite. I haven't really cared that much for Cheyenne since they took the chuck wagons away. I used to love to go to the chuck wagons when I was a kid in Cheyenne, and they quit wanting to pay those Canadians to come down and put the show on. But man, do they put it on there at Calgary. And we went 2 nights and watched that, and the whole group of auctioneers and people come in. Shane Coxer from Bassett, Nebraska, he was down with some of his family, or he was up, I guess. He bought the trip at the LMA contest to go up there, and he came up right after his big barbecue sale last week. Had a good time visiting with him and several people there. But the rain didn't scare us off from the chuck wagon races. The hail did. The hail put us underneath the grandstands for a little bit, but when we come back and it was a sloppy track, the last half of those chuck wagons was even better than the first. But if you guys, if you auctioneer, you definitely need to look into competing in that contest. If you're looking for a fun place to go and take your family, it's a good place to do that. But you know, I was talking to several of the Canadian cattle people around there, and you know, all we hear is that there's a lot of smoke coming down because they have so many fires. Those fires are pretty much condensed into the forest areas that are largely uninhabited, but nobody's there. And they had some of those in the western part of the country earlier in the summer. Those kind of played out. Now most of the fires are in the forest areas in the eastern part. The smoke has been coming down. It came down on them too. The guys in Western Canada said they were as dry as they've ever been. Middle of June. Since then, it's been raining, and things are going well, and the yearlings are gaining well up there, and they are going to. Of course, they're having all-time record prices, just like we are. They follow with us, and it's amazing how close their market is to us. With the exchange rate, it's virtually exactly the same. But several cattle selling right now that will deliver direct off the pastures in Canada, and they won't do that till later. They keep their grazing yearlings out there till fall, for sure fall in October, most of them. A lot of those October delivery yearling steers coming off the Canadian pastures up there, the summer grass, are weighing 1,000 pounds base weight, bringing from $2.90 to $3 a pound Canadian, and that equates back to about $2.25 US for us, and that's a hell of a sale for us, guys. Don't think the Canadians are dumping cattle on us. They are buying cattle and taking them up north. They haven't been doing that quite as much as maybe they were a year or two ago, but that's the relationship we have with them. We do buy quite a bit of beef off of them, but they're the only other country that really has the high quality grain-fed beef that we want here in this country. But had a great trip up there, and congratulations to everybody that's involved in that contest. I'll tell you what. Talk about your board for last week. Your live cattle futures for August. Monday was up 20. Tuesday was up $1.62. Wednesday down $1.95. Thursday up 2 cents. Friday up 3.27. So big recovery on Friday. We're kind of down in the dumps there mid to late week because the board was not supporting us too much. But on Friday it came back. If you didn't notice that, August live cattle futures ended the week at 180.17, higher than what they could get for in the Southern Plains for fat cattle. That was up 3.17 for the week. October ended the week at 182.62, up 3 1/4 for the week. August feeder cattle, Monday was up 85, Tuesday was up 90, Wednesday was down 57, Thursday was down $1.57, Friday got that back up 165, and August feeder cattle ended the week at 246.65, up $1.23. September contracts ended the week at 249.22, up 62 cents. December new crop corn gained its head off. Of course, all your grains did last week, despite the bearish WASDE report. And didn't pay any attention to that. I don't even know why they had it. Of course, if it would have been a bullish report, it would have responded to that. But your December new crop corn ended the week regular trading 5.13 3/4, up 19 1/4 cent for the week. November new crop beans ended the week at 13.70 3/4, up 53 cents for the week. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September ended the week at 8.29. That was up 10 3/4 cent a bushel for the week. Talk about your fat cattle trade, and I've already kind of mentioned how the Southern Plains never got going really at all. But through Thursday of last week, which is all we really have rounded up, 16,300 was all. I mean, that is nothing. And packers haven't been processing that much cattle here. Had a disappointing week last week, but I think it's their problem more than the cattle feeders. We got short supplies too, and if they're not harvesting a lot of cattle, they're the ones that short of supply that they're going to sell. Of course, box beef cutout value has been falling like a rock here seasonally for the last couple weeks here, but your fat cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region last week ranged from 175 to 186 up through the end of Thursday's trade. That was 50 cents to $1 lower. Actually, your weighted averages are higher because we didn't have any Southern Plains trade. Your dress sales from 287 to 295. That's actually a couple bucks higher, and that's definitely going to be a good gain there on your weighted average dress basis. But we'll do that when we get Friday's sales thrown in there. Friday's update up through 2 o'clock. They had sold confirmed sales in Iowa of 6,800 and 19,100 head for the week, and that was by far the biggest trade area there. And live sales from 182 to 186, dress sales from 290 to 292. Nebraska sold 6,100 on Friday. 7,500 is all for the week in Nebraska, but I think there was some more trade late on Friday also in Nebraska. But 184 to 186 live, and 290 to 292 dressed, and there was more movement of that on Friday afternoon, I know, because I was seeing the information come in via text. But Kansas only 200 head on Friday and only 2,600 head for the week. Had a little bit of trade on Friday, headed north at 180. So, but we never established the market in the Southern Plains, and we don't get enough trade down there hardly to do it. So this is going to be a little bit of a taste of what it's going to do when we completely lose our negotiated trade in the Southern Plains, starting with Texas. And I talked to several Canadian cattle feeders that were concerned about that. they have no trade, no negotiated trade up there, and they just kind of see what our market is and loosely base their market off that. But they've taken them all to grid trade, and it just benefits the packer. And and that's why you've lost interest from a lot of people of feeding cattle in Canada. It's just the corporates that do it, just the packers that feed the cattle. But luckily, they still have a good calf and yearling market up there. But Texas only sold 100 head on Friday, only 500 head for the week. It was just hodgepodge stuff. You couldn't really tell one way or the other. Fed Cattle Exchange, like I said, they did sell some cattle. Of course, it was bid the grid. And I told you that, that's not my preference. I would rather have pure negotiated sales, but at least they're bidding the base price. They're bidding on the base price, and then they go on the grid after that. But 178.5 to 179 on late in the week. So that was pretty good on Fed Cattle Exchange. And that may be the only way we get any kind of negotiated trade or competitive trade in the Southern Plains is on the Fed Cattle Exchange as we go forward, because there's just not enough guys selling them, and your packers sure don't want any competition. But box beef cutout values down big last week. Weighted average on all of last week's choice sales was down 12.02 at 309.95. Your late Friday sales were $4 lower than the weighted average for the week at 305.94. On selects, your weighted average was $10.55 lower than the weighted average on the previous week's trade, but all of last week's select trade averaged $280.09, and then your late Friday sales were another $3.50 lower than that. Absolutely falling out of bed. Choice select spread is just under $30 and 717 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, and that's about as heavy as what we get to see for the most part. Slaughter is 633,000 for the week last week. Couldn't compare it with the holiday week before that, but that was 40,000 head less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Ever.ag. EverAg specializes in livestock policies, in grain brokerage, in services advising buyers and sellers of grain. They are also vault software technology handlers there. So if you've got any needs as far as risk management and protecting yourself in the ag business, get a hold of them at ever.ag.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. Late in the week last week, ended the week at 239.67. That was down 307 from the previous week. Your market was still better for the most part, and people were just getting going again and didn't have a lot of comparisons because everybody for the most part was closed during the 4th of July week. But your index levels are falling because the few sales that we had that went into the real-time index and the cash feeder cattle index were on special sales and didn't have any other receipts to pull those down or make them more real. So it has kind of adjusted itself, and it's right in there about 240, which is very, very reasonable for 800-pound steers. Look at your big sales around late last week or over the weekend. Fort Scott, Kansas had a good sale there. Top sale out of there was 117 steers, weighed 908 at 240-275. That'd be a pretty good lick. Market we don't get to talk about much, but Lanesboro, Minnesota, Lanesboro Sales Commission there, they do an awfully good job. They sold 91 little Holstein steers, ready to go for you, all straightened out and everything. 362 pounds. People say, well, what would something like that bring? 220.75 for dairy steers in Minnesota. A big swath of them right there. How about some big dairy steers? Bluegrass Stockyards in Campbellsville, Kentucky had a Holstein special. And I tell you what, you don't see many Holsteins anymore. I've told you people, someday we'll have to go to the zoo to see them because everybody is crossbreeding them. They're just doing artificial insemination for the cows, and then they don't raise Holstein bulls anymore, so we don't have them to feed. But the beef on dairy calves are getting very, very competitive with regular beef cattle. But big load of some big steers, 78 head of 797-pound dairy steers in Campbellsville, Kentucky, bring 181.10. How about another bluegrass market? Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond, Kentucky. They sell 218 head of 977-pound commodity steers at 222.80. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, and your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Bloomington, Wisconsin, Bloomington Livestock Exchange. 58 steers weighed 792, scaring the hell out of 800 pounds at 253 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.